Hello everyone and welcome to our project management course project. We are a group of engineers from the German International University. My name is Galal Ahmed, and before I begin I'd like to introduce my team members, starting with Sandra Ayman, Yusuf Abdel Men'em, Yusuf Akram, Yusuf Gamal, Maria Amir, Ahmed Adel and Monica Bassem. In this project, we have contacted a professional project manager to provide answers to numerous questions about the field in order to better understand how a project manager thinks and strengthen our familiarity with the theoretical concepts covered in the project management course. Let us begin by first providing some background on the project manager we have interviewed. Mr. Bassem Mikhail is a project manager at FlareStack with over 22 years of experience in project management, business analysis, software development, and technical leading in customized projects and implementations for clients all over the world in USA, Middle East, and Egypt. However, before we begin the interview, let us start off by defining what is project management. One of the most crucial organizational skills is project management, as no project would be successful without the right planning, coordination, and leadership that a project manager offers. The act of leading a team to accomplish a project's objective within established time and financial restrictions can be referred to as project management. Project management is the process of overseeing a project with a constrained scope, budget, and time schedule. Basic management, on the other hand, isn't restricted by time or any fixed amount of work. And the first question that we wanted to ask Mr. Bassem Mikhail was, what has been your most successful project? And this was the answer Mr. Bassem provided us. The most successful project that I've ever been through was a mega project that's executed in Egypt for the Ministry of Health, which is the COVID vaccine system in Egypt. And actually, this project is one of the most successful ones, as it was executed in a very critical time where COVID was spreading all over the world, and the requirements were challenging and the approach was very massive. Our next question to Mr. Bassem was, what certifications or courses would one need to become a project manager? We found out that the Project Management Professional PMP course offered by the Project Management Institute PMI is one that project managers take the most frequently. This course differs from others in that it prepares you to fulfill the needs of projects and businesses all around the world, thanks to the PMI Professional certification. The requirements of organizations in the actual world are met by this accreditation, which is based on stringent standards and ongoing research. If you have a PMI accreditation to your name, you can operate in practically any industry anywhere in the world and with any project management technique. This is the first significant step in a person's life towards becoming a reputable project manager is earning this qualification. When we asked Mr. Bassem about the phases of the project life cycle, he stated that project management have 5 phases, which are usually completed sequentially. The first phase is the initiation phase, and its main objective is to guarantee that the project satisfies business requirements and that the stakeholders and project teams are in agreement on the project success criteria throughout the project life cycle. Once the expectations and success criteria are clear, the next phase focuses on planning each job the team must complete in order to complete the scope, produce the deliverables, and achieve the overall goal. The following phase is the execution phase, where the project team follows through and completes tasks in accordance with the project plan. Next comes the project monitoring and control phase, where the team tracks the progress of the project based on the project plan and ensures that the project stays on schedule, within the budget, and within the scope. Finally, the last phase is the project closure, where all the activities related to its completion, such as submitting the final deliverable, fulfilling contractual obligations, terminating relevant agreements, are finally concluded. We then wanted to know which leadership style Mr. Bassem prefers, assuming he would have one go-to approach when handling team members. But his answer shocked us. We found out that contrary to popular belief, having one leadership style is actually detrimental to the completion of the project. A great project manager is able to utilize all the leadership styles when necessary, and one should be able to fluently change between the styles, as hard as that may be. There are some who prefer the dictatorship style, where their vision will automatically get fully transferred on the project, without the input or suggestions of any team member, and although this style results in higher efficiency, the overall morale of the team may be negatively affected. A decentralized approach, however, is one Mr. Bassem Mikhail prefers, and is a much humbler approach where all the team members are delegated tasks and given freedom within their work. Mr. Bassem Mikhail highlights how this approach would allow the team to work harder as they feel rewarded when their own work is completed successfully. Our next question was, what is the most important skill for a project manager to have? Even though some people could take some time to consider the various talents a project manager might need in order to run a project successfully, Mr. Bassem Mikhail knew the answer right away, and it's people management and handling. It can be difficult to deal with people of diverse origins, values, and cultures, and since customer satisfaction is the most crucial factor in a project, people management is quite important. In order to successfully handle a customer, one must always stay organized with their thoughts and well composed. If a customer ever came into a meeting dissatisfied or with multiple precautions about the project, the first thing that must be done is calm them down and listen to their requests clearly. The project manager should act as a consultant between the team and the customer. Other skills highlighted by Mr. Bassem include critical thinking, problem-solving skills, analytical thinking, and the ability to follow up. Our next inquiry to Mr. Bassem was, how do you deal with internal conflict between members? He said that conflicts are bound to occur, especially in a large team where people with different personalities and cultures have to work together daily under a large amount of stress. The best way to deal with these conflicts, as stated by Mr. Bassem Mikhail, is to immediately solve the issue at hand between the members and clear up their misunderstanding. Both sides are heard carefully until they can reach an understanding, and unsurprisingly, these conflicts happen frequently. And Mr. Bassem Mikhail was adamant about how they should be dealt with as soon as possible, as issues like these may affect the morale and harmony of the team very significantly. We then wanted to know from Mr. Bassem all about budgeting and cost management, and this is what we had to say when we asked, how should we determine the budget? Basically, the project budget is a very important point that the project manager should consider, as it is an essential part of securing project funding, provides the basis for project cost control, and also has a direct effect on the company's financial viability. We determine the budget according to different aspects. Firstly, human resources, which includes salary rates of full-time and temporary workers, insurance, and allowances. Secondly, building costs such as electricity, rent, and maintenance. Thirdly, the estimated profit of the project contingency reserves, which is an extra budget nearly from 5 to 10% of the expected risks. At first, budget monitoring is required to avoid any overcosts, but when our project exceeds our budget, we do root cause analysis, which is to state the reasons for this to happen. Then a mitigation plan is followed in order to avoid impacting the total budget. However, when it came to calculating the project cost, it was a little different. Mr. Bassem Mikhail claims that the total cost estimation is essential for project success. Many costs can appear over the project life cycle. Thus, an accurate project cost estimation method can be the difference between a successful plan and a failed one. Project cost estimation is the process that takes all types of costs into account and calculates a budget that meets the financial commitment necessary for a successful project. To do so, project managers use a cost breakdown structure to determine all the costs in a project. This step is a crucial part of the project planning phase. There are 4 types of costs to be considered in a project: direct, indirect, fixed, and variable costs. Direct costs are attached to the specific activities such as raw materials, labor, supply, etc. Indirect costs are in support of the project such as administrative fees, rent, salaries, utilities, etc. Fixed costs do not change throughout the project. Setup costs, rental costs, insurance premiums, and property taxes are all examples of fixed costs. Lastly, variable costs which change due to the amount of work that's done in the project. For example, hourly labor wages, materials, and fuel costs can all be considered variable costs. Finally, we wanted to understand more about the concept of risk management and some of the risk mitigation strategies. A project risk is a danger that could happen or not during a project. The term project risk refers to a number of different categories of specific project risks. External dangers make up the first class. Project risks that are outside of our control include changes in the state of economy. The second form of risk is called the scope creep risks, and it appears when tasks are added to the project scope without the project management's team agreement, resulting in the scope expanding out of control and having a direct influence on the project's timeline and budget. Another risk is the scheduling risk, which arises whenever there is a substantial likelihood that the project timetable will not be met. Risk mitigation is the practice of reducing the impact of prospective hazards by developing a plan to effectively manage, eliminate, or minimize setbacks. The most popular risk mitigation techniques, according to Mr. Bassem Mikhail, are risk avoidance, risk reduction, risk transference, and risk acceptance. The act of avoiding risk is taking precautions to prevent it from happening. On the other side, risk mitigation strategy entails taking measures to lessen the possibility of a risk occurring. Risk transfer means giving a third party the consequences of the risk. For instance, the majority of businesses pay an insurance provider to cover particular risks. And last but not least, risk acceptance, which is accepting the danger in its current state. Sometimes taking a chance is preferable in the long term, since the opportunity of profit exceeds the danger. To summarize what has been discussed thus far, we learned from Mr. Bassem Mikhail all there is to know about what it takes to be a successful project manager, including certifications needed and necessary abilities, along with the various approaches for risk avoidance and reduction. We also looked at some ways for cost and budget estimation. Finally, we discovered how to interact with team members and clients in various settings and why people management is the most important skill for project managers. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and goodbye.